There are two ways in racing that visuals can come at you in a big hurry. One is on a long, super fast track, but most such tracks provide time and space for decision making and recovery from error. The other is on a very short and crowded track where the laps are fast and furious and time and space is compressed into a relentless attack on the senses. Last week, the Full Send Sims Esports iRacing Spec Miata series raced on the former at Sebring. But tonight, the field does a full 180 as they look to survive a doubleheader at Connecticut's fabled Lime Rock Park. Welcome to round 6 and the immense challenges of a large and intensely competitive field maintaining momentum amongst the tight confines of road racing's bull ring. Hi folks, I'm Greg Creamer along with Kyle Heyer. And Kyle, while Lime Rock Park may be short on distance, it is long on energy.
Yeah, if this was a planet, this would be basically a black hole. The energy density of this place is unbelievable. It is so tight, the confines around Lime Rock Park. It's a classic circuit that just flows with the land. It's pretty fast as well. You're not slowing down a whole lot of times around here. Most of the corners are rights, but that left hook at turn number 3 is also a big challenge. I love this place, Greg. It's a great place for Miata racing.
It is. It's almost tailor-made for Miatas, isn't it? For the simple reason that these are momentum cars at its finest, and this is a momentum track. So you get out there and you just get into that groove, and you just sort of, it's almost metronomic when you're in the groove, right? But one little loss of momentum, as you talked about, particularly with that lone left-hander, you can get tricked in that one, and you suddenly find yourself really searching to try and get back up to pace. So it's a tricky spot, and of course, since 1956, when it was created, that back stretch, not really straight, but it was called the no-name straight, the one we're looking at right there, that has since been now renamed beginning early last year as the Paul Newman straight. Couldn't be more fitting. Not only a great actor, but a fine gentleman and a fabulous race car driver. This was his racing home.
Absolutely, and that front straightaway, the Sam Posey straight, I had a great opportunity a couple of years ago as we see some trouble here at the downhill turn 7 to interview Sam Posey here at the facility at a Grid Life event, and I had some amazing conversations with Sam, and it's always great to see him around the racetrack, and 2 legendary straightaways named after 2 legendary people. But this place is fast, under a minute as far as lap times are concerned for the pointy end of the field, Greg. And looking at that timing and scoring tower on the left-hand side of the screen, you mentioned energy density. It's just dense in the virtual paddock here. Over 40 cars ready to go racing tonight.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you talk about cars per mile. There's no place like this. Obviously, we are literally packing them in here, and right now 108, Mr. Rixengrini, Jordan Rixengrini, continuing the form he has shown throughout this season. Whoops, somebody had a big spin over there. Looked like it was all the way up into the climbing turn up into West Bend. Right here is West Bend, then the drop into the downhill, and this is one of those spots. We already saw that little bit of contact. You have got to be ready. If a car's inside, you've got to be able to figure a way around that outside. It's not easy, and it is so easy to spear off into those barriers.
Just getting a clean lap without any obstructions right now is going to be a challenge, as Rick Segrini goes about a 10th off his best, and that's unfortunate because Morgan Burkhardt just went faster at a 59.497. He goes to the top of the board, but just getting a clean, unobstructed lap here in qualifying is going to be a challenge, let alone the race. And as we saw last season here, Greg, just finishing these things, even for the drivers up front, can be a challenge. We might even see some lap traffic.
Yeah, absolutely, and you just saw a little bit of an off there. There's that blue car with the orange stripes of Trace Hance coming off in real-world racing at the Cabin Fever Sark Regional at Sebring this past weekend. A sweep of the races, winning the qualifying race and the big feature race. So, you know, and guess what he did last weekend when he raced at Sebring? He did it before right here in our series. As they say, Full Send Sim says it, practice apparently does make podium.
It did indeed, and we'll see what Trace has got here for qualifying today. Not yet up in on the board. He hasn't put down a valid lap. That is a 118.497, not representative. I'm sure we'll see better than that. Since we were here last season, Greg, this track has seen a minor visual change. You'll notice the 3-dimensional grass. That's just one of many changes that have been coming to iRacing the last couple of months. Today they announced that rain is officially coming in the March build, which will be the first week in March. So we're not that far away. We're just a couple rounds away from having wet weather racing here at iRacing, which is very, very exciting. Not to all cars just yet. This is not one of the cars that will be included with rainy weather, but I'm sure we'll get to see some incredible visuals in no time. And that weather simulation is going to be top of the line.
Oh yeah, I mean they had posted some pictures of what it's going to look like, and I was really focused on looking at what the rain was doing on the underside of the side of the car. And it looks like they have absolutely nailed that. Soto, big wide run there on the uphill, but was able to hang on to it. But you got that curve pretty good right there, and it just throws you wide. Oof, yep, that's a spooky thing. And then the plummet through that downhill. And right now, look at these margins. Morgan Burkhardt up by 10 1,000ths over Rickson Greeny, another 38 1,000ths back to Josh Soto. And then a driver that we've been watching here in practice and qualifying for this event, not familiar with him, at least I'm not, Zach Ehrlich in the 181. A really stout fourth spot right now in front of Forrester, Patry, Piatek. He is on it.
Yeah, this is an amazing run for a driver that we haven't seen in the series here. To jump right up to the pointy end is very impressive. I think the key to his success might be on the logo on the side of the door. That's a Flat Out Motorsports logo, Greg, and they have a lot of experience with these NC generation Miatas in SCCA competition in particular. So I think Zach's probably got some more background in these cars than at least we've seen here in the Full Send Sim Spec Miata series. So let's keep an eye on this 181 tonight. He will be a threat, as will Beans Forster up in fifth. Nice qualifying effort. And a driver who struggled last week at Sebring, Olivier Piatek. 2 turn 1 incidents. His goal tonight, just survive and don't drop down the points any further.
Yeah, and right now sitting in the 7th spot. He would like more, and there's time to get back out. We'll see if he does exactly that. I think the other thing, getting back maybe to Zach Ehrlich, was on that graphic of where he's from, said New Jersey. So I bet he's got some laps here at this track as well, since it's not going to be too far away. But as we've often seen here, the margin's really, really snug here. And whoops, and as we talk about Piatek moving up just a little bit, he gets shuffled back a notch here as Nicholas Caleb Patry jumps in front of him and up into 6th.
Yeah, and Rice-Puto did jump up there as well. Christian Rice-Puto still has yet to put down a time. He's the only one of the 43 cars that have yet to put a time on the board here, Greg. 2 20-minute races. This is just going to be so frantic. It always is. And I love that you mentioned energy at the opening, because this place just comes alive when the green flag flies. The whole place is basically in a valley, and it echoes and bounces the sound off the hillsides. It is a magical place to watch motorsport, especially up on that spectator hill there by turn 3.
Well, absolutely. And, people have said, well, why don't you, make the runoff down at the bottom of the downhill turn a little bit better, and some other spots? Well, just behind most of those barriers are creeks, actual creeks, so there's just nowhere for you to expand, and that's what's kept this place. And I'm delighted for it. You start opening up, you can see the creek there on the outside of the right-hander and onto Paul Newman Straight, but it's fed by others. And I love that it keeps it trapped back in the 1950s. And I think that's absolutely wonderful, because it makes this place unique and very special.
Yeah, and I've had a lovely opportunity to chat with the new ownership of this facility. It was sold a couple of years ago, and Dickie Regal is one of my favorite people ever, and he's one of the shareholders now of the Lime Rock facility, and they have such a grand vision for its future, and it doesn't involve changing what makes it great, which I think is thrilling. Certainly investing in the fan experience and things of the sort, but it's one of my favorite places in North America to watch races, and considering my home track was Watkins Glen, the bar is high, so Lime Rock certainly belongs up on that list.
Oh, it absolutely does. And speaking of which, you were talking about the interview you did with Sam Posey. I was able to watch that. And, he is such a special soul, let alone a talent. I call him racing's poet laureate. And, you get a chance to spend some time with him. He's one of the most erudite guys going. And, you think about it, the pagoda, he's a self-taught architect to design that. He is truly a Renaissance man. And anytime you get to spend in his presence is pretty rewarding, to be sure.
One of the other things I like about tonight, have a look at the configuration running, the classic uphill, Greg. None of that chicane business. We're taking the fast uphill. And at the top of this, you essentially launch. If you listen carefully, you can hear the revs climb as cars crest this hill. And the cars do get light. They're not going to get completely airborne here, but they will get light, and it's a big trouble spot, especially in traffic.
Well, and if you do run wide and you're trying to counter to come back on right when it gets light, if you keep your boot in it, or if you do a sudden lift and panic, you're going around. So yeah, it's a really, really tricky spot. And what has to be absolutely pinging here is your spidey sense. You have to be very, very aware, constantly searching those mirrors, because you never know when somebody's going to get up alongside you and that next turn comes at you fast.
And that turn would be west bend. There's another chicane here that we'll be skipping. We're going to take the fast west bend and then, of course, the downhill. It's just off to the left. You're coming down a couple of stories. The track flattens out right as you really need to be carrying the most speed. Very easy to wash out here. And when you do that, it's also easy to come back across the racetrack into the pit wall there, or even into the pit road entry. So it's also leads into your best passing opportunity, which is turn 1. Just like any other bigger track, you're essentially racing to this straightaway because your only real opportunity to get an overtake is into turn 1. You can force it elsewhere, but this is the easy one if there was such a thing. So you lead into that, got Big Bend at turn number 1, and that's a challenge in itself before you head off to turn 3, which is the only real left-hander on the circuit.
Yeah, and what really complicates things down in Big Bend, or turn 1 and 2, they are linked into Big Bend, is you tend to turn in early, float out, then back down to get through the second part, turn 2 of Big Bend. And so sometimes you think, I've got room to make the pass, and then that guy's turning in, and that's the normal line. So if you do get that run, you've got to get clearly alongside and let him know you're there, or it can be kind of tricky too. And if you do overshoot, the nice thing is there's a big long runoff down there in turn 1. And I'm loving we're going to get the look again. Beans has this flair for really fun socks.
He does.
And,
what's he got on there?
They are on display again. I don't know. Is that leaves or toads, or I have no clue.
I think he might be onto something with the toads there. I can't really tell.
Yeah, I know.
But we'll have to ask him later. Could be pickles.
Could be pickles.
I'm not really sure.
But who knows?
He's up to
he's
third.
Looking. Dare I say he's looking to leapfrog the field?
Oh, there it is.
Yeah, sorry. Got that out of the way. We can now proceed in all earnestness.
Yeah. So he's up to third. He's doing really well here in qualifying, and maybe with the assistance of a bit of the toe, which you're not going to really see other places other than really the main straightaway. Big slide there for somebody on the front straightaway. That'll be a wall contact there as Forster will come out of the final turn. Looks like Burkhardt's up in the green as well, and well, he did not go faster that time, but he's still on provisional pole.
You know, one of the things about Beans, he's one of the instructors in the schools, and he takes that past the school period, because he posted a couple of things on Discord, some video, and said, look, this is what happened. I didn't spin, the other guy did. Can you see why? And so he really is in tune to try and help drivers learn those little nuances, not just the big picture stuff, but the finesse that it takes sometimes to drive and to avoid incidents, to avoid spins. And, that's the kind of person you have coaching here in this championship. Here's a look at Andrew Gilliland running in 15th right now. And I'll tell you, I just am mega impressed with just every time I see him and watch what he's doing on the track with his young age. Talk about a future.
And he's up in the green right now. 3 seconds left on the board. Is he going to get to finish this lap? It might be better. No, right at the end. 15th will be where Andrew Gilliland will start this race.
Nonetheless, a great effort. And there's a great look at this wonderful facility here, nestled down in the hills. I think Andrew Benat calls it the hidden valley of racing. And, of course, the track bills it as the Road Racing Center of the East. Greg Ricks, longtime announcer there. I've announced so many events there over the years with Greg. It's just a great place to go to. And so fortunate that the Full Send Sims Esports iRacing Series gets to go there. And, of course, that's because of the great efforts of Court Schmidt and Full Send Sims. Court, extensive background military simulation. Real World Racer has combined those into creating some absolutely phenomenal sims and came up with the idea for this championship. But some people that he's known and worked with over the years have said, we're going to help you out here. And they are great presenting sponsors, one of them 3P Logistics. And I was at FARA down at Homestead for that series this past weekend, and 3P Logistics had a great weekend down there. Owner Frank Rodriguez and that team really knocking it out of the park. Also Final Turn Motorsports, they are an absolutely great group as well, and they do driver development from licensing all the way up to pro level racing. Wine Country Motorsports, which is truly the racer's resource for helmet, suits, gloves, shoes, seats, harnesses for over 30 years now, and they always respond, unlike some of their other internet friends. And just want to remind everybody as well that we've got a great prize list. First through third will always get trophies, and there are some specialty awards as well. First place will get a Samsung 49-inch ultra-wide monitor. Second place, a Butt Kicker Gamer Plus. Third place, a Logitech G Pro X gaming headset. Remember, instructors, admins, anybody who's part of the Full Send Sim series on a management role, not eligible for those. And if somebody has won one of those in a calendar year, they can't repeat. So it shifts downwards. So even if you're not in the top three, keep coming back, keep racing hard. You may find yourself with one of those great prizes.
Well, it's 2 20-minute races tonight. There'll be about 21 laps, just under a minute every time we make a circulation of Lime Rock Park. Let's kick things off here with the starting lineup. We're not going to get through all of them with such a short pace lap, but Morgan Burkhardt and Jordan Rick Segrini start in the front row as teammates.
Teammate sweep starting in the third spot, Beans Forrester in the 23, Josh Soto in the 77.
And starting in fifth will be Nicholas Rice-Budo in the 03. Zach Ehrlich in the number 181 rolls off sixth.
Starting sixth at 998 of Caleb Patry, back where we expect him to be, up in that top 10, and Camden Hibbett in the 132.
Patry will be starting from the pits, not sure why, but that'll be a big damper on his day. Deacon Greenfield rolls off 9th in the number 20, and Olivier Piatek 10th in the 62.
Starting 11th, the 198 of Matt Friedman, and 12th, the 201 of Colin Weiss.
And 13th place is going to be Hayden Manis in the number 65. Michael Lauren in the 133 rolls off 14th.
In the 15th spot, the 91 of Andrew Gilliland, and in his 16th, the number 18 of Gianni Morrow.
17th place, Nicholas Belmont at the 46. Trace Hance, after a successful weekend last week at Sebring, starts 18th in the 53.
Starting 19th, number 80 is Andrew Wozencroft, starting 20th, Max Bankin in the 00.
And 21st place, Luke Law in the 941. Court Schmidt rolls off 22nd in the 172.
Starting 23rd, the 123 of James Newell, and 24th, the 144 of Tristan Cadet.
And 25th place, Stephen Blethyn in the number 50. Jordan Butler starts 26th in the 72.
Starting 27th, the 528 of Richard Sawicki, the second, and Jean Reyes in the 29 starts 28.
And 29th place, Mike Schmidt in the 531. And Ayrton Grimm starts 30th in the 121.
Starting 31st, the 042 is Seth Spolman, and Ray Blethyn starts 32nd in the number 54. Field coming down. You can watch the rest of the field, as you said, it's just such a long field. Pace car makes the move down into the pits, and we are about ready to go racing for the first of two 20-minute heats here at the Bull Ring. Will everybody survive the opening lap? Make your bets now. We are green! And the teammates lead away pretty much in formation. Beans Forrester right down to the inside. Is he going to try something? Watch Olivier Piatek in that green car. He loves making a big move at the start, but it was kind of frozen there. And then the starters coming from the pit lane. And the rule, it may have been, if you got more than 10 penalty points, the next race you start from the pits. That may be why they were there. But so far, I don't want to jinx it, but they are doing a fabulous job through the right-hander and onto Paul Newman straight.
Very nice job. Greg Ginsburg and Jim Friedhofer have tangled at the back of the field. Otherwise, we've gotten through at least the first half of the racetrack for the uphill. Burkhardt and Rick Segrini, they're going to get their single file, little side-by-side deeper here. Wozencroft and Hance up the uphill side-by-side.
Oh, Wozencroft got that curve pretty hard, and then a couple of cars. That might be the 72 of Jordan Butler involved. And then a few more cars, I think just avoidance action right there, got caught out. I don't know that anybody had any serious contact. Hopefully they can all continue.
Yeah, there's a couple, I think, that got some damage that before they had that spin. So we'll carry on. Lap one complete. Here's a couple cars side by side. Andrew Gilliland to the number 91. He's in the middle of this. On the outside is Greenfield. And look at this, Gianni Morrow in the 18, the red car.
Yeah, that was 4 abreast down the Sam Posey straight for a minute. Now they're 3 abreast at the exit of Big Bend. Now setting up for that right-hander. They're still 3 abreast. Finally, Greenfield slots through, but everybody else going after it here. And do keep in mind, Nicholas Rice-Budo comes in here after the 2 drops have been factored in. Only 5 points clear of Jordan Rick Segrini. Championship at the halfway point couldn't really be tighter.
Burkhardt and Rick Segrini trying to separate themselves from the rest of the field as they've done in weeks past. The 80 of Wozencroft door-to-door with Bankin in the 00. I think Bankin's going to win that battle for now. Here's Court Schmidt, Trace Hance around the outside.
Yeah, I think for a minute there, Wozencroft was looking at Court, didn't realize that Trace was there, started to move, and then caught a glimpse of that blue car and went whoops, and checked out of it. Right behind them, a couple of cars. Well, it looks like they made it, but that was some close stuff right there. And Nicholas Rice-Budo has gone around on Beans as well, up in that 3rd spot now.
And Camden Hibbett rocking a new livery here this week, Greg, and this one looks familiar.
Yes, it does. Boy, that team is ever expanding, isn't it?
It sure is, and they've got a lot of the quickest cars in the field by the looks of it, with 2 of them leading, and Camden Hibbett right now running in 6th. There was another one that got caught up at the tail of the field. I wasn't able to catch which car it was, but another PRG car that tangled. Don't have the team lead like we had at Sebring last week, but they are multiplying, Greg.
Yeah, they really are. And right now, I mean, we've got Forster and Ehrlich are the 2 sort of outliers in and amongst all of those team cars right now. And Rice Pudo working that as well on board here with Beans. And watch his, watch the ballet he does, the downshifts and the footwork down into Big Bend. This is so cool. There it is, blip. And a blip. That is, I love it.
Real smooth. He's going to grab right up to the rear bumper as behind him. I think Hibbett went by Ehrlich, and he's going to sneak into 5th place there in the 132.
Nice move there. Ehrlich also immediately under attack from Soto behind him. And, again, every time we go to that foot cam, that's what racing in my mind should still be. Yes, I'm an old nostalgic fart. I get it. But that's what, when you think about Ayrton Senna making those downshifts as fast as guys today can do it with paddles, that was the art and the magic of racing. And it's so cool to have it alive, even if it has to be in a sim. And then these guys also just race the wheels off these things. And that lead group now has broken clear, hasn't it? Those top 4 have gapped Hibbett by about a second.
Yeah, keep an eye on that 132, though. He might be able to reel them back in, especially if they start to fight. And just for the record, I'm 25. I still also can appreciate heel-toe downshifting, Greg. So it's not dead with all the new kids in town. It's certainly a skill that I think, coming from the grassroots level, is very important. Andrew Wozencroft has had a problem. Let's go back and look at what happened to him about a half a lap ago. And this was a spin on the uphill. We just caught the tail end of it, so here's the start. Comes the curb, tags the 16 of Christian Rice Budo, and then gets looped around.
Yeah, there was nowhere for Court to go. Clipped him in that right rear corner, and that was that. Look at this battle for the final spot on the podium right now. And Beans Forrester gets a beautiful run. Not quite enough there to do anything with it into West Bend. Has to check up, and once again, we saw Morgan Burkhardt do this the last time we raced here. The exit of West Bend, he would run wide off the track almost and just keep his boot in it. And we asked him afterwards, and he said, yeah, I found that it actually helped me with a little bit more momentum down the hill, and it paid off with a win. And so right now, Rick Zagrini's got to find some way to get out in front of Morgan.
Yeah, they almost broke away from Rice Budo and Forster as they were fighting. So if I'm Forster, I'm going to consider that the 2 lead cars are teammates, and they're not going to battle each other. So the longer that he prolongs this fight with Rice Budo, the more opportunity Burkhardt and Rick Zagrini have to drive away. So keep that in mind while you're fighting for 3rd. The lead is still right there, so don't give up hope just yet. We're only 5 minutes into this 20-minute race.
Now, would that be a way, though, for Beans to say, come on, man, pick it up. We've got better pace than this. Let's go, to try and light the fire for Nicholas Rice Budo. Not that he really needs it, but sometimes that's messaging where you show the nose, you get inside, and the guy goes, okay, I get it. We'll pick it up here.
Well, here's what this is not. It's not Sebring. You can't wait to the last lap to make your pass. So I absolutely want the track position sooner than later. I don't want to sit in 3rd place all race and try to make a move on the last lap. You're not going to make it happen unless you're extremely lucky and good. Those 2 things are hard to get in one night. So I would like to make my pass sooner than later. I think Forster's pushing Rice Budo to step out and try to make a pass on Rick Zagrini, knowing that they can't wait very long.
Yeah, and the best thing that could happen for those guys is to get one of them in between those 2 team cars and sort of break that up just a little bit. And I don't know, it sure looks to me like Rice Budo responded to Beans' advances there, and they have quickly run down that duo again. But already we have traffic coming up that they're going to be dealing with as well. So that happened in a big hurry. That's a 61 of Andrew Gaieta that they're going to be catching first.
And Rick Zagrini had to look to the inside of Burkhardt. Had to have Burkhardt offline a bit to facilitate that, and Rice Budo is barking up the rear bumper right now. You mentioned lap traffic. I'm going to mention Camden Hibbett. He's joined the party now in 5th place.
Yes, he has. That's an absolutely great run. And Ehrlich, he's in a good little scrap right now with Soto, but again, those guys need to pick it up just a little bit and come after him. But Camden now, as you said, has joined him in 5th, and they are going to catch that traffic right at Big Bend, it looks like here. Indeed. Well, maybe they're going to get a little reprieve. Yes, they're going to get a little reprieve here But they would have preferred to have caught him, obviously, heading down Sam Posey Straight, where they could make that pass.
Oh man, the racing gods definitely don't care where you prefer to get it. You're going to get it in the worst spot every time. You never get the traffic where you want it. It's always frustrating like that. But you know, at least look, that's the 61, I believe, of Andrew Guada that you mentioned. So he's actually making pretty decent laps. So it's not like they're lapping cars that are slow. They're lapping cars that are making pretty good speed. Court Schmidt's off at turn 3.
Ah, what a shame. And he gathers it back up. He already had that one little tip. And again, it was nothing he could have done. But now, and for Morgan, he may have played this to perfection because he gets the run. And a great job by Andrew Guada to stay to the right, watching the flags, way to the inside, dipping the brake here. He's going to let this whole group go by. That's a class move.
Yeah, that was a really, really nice job there. That will set them free of lap traffic, at least for another few laps. They've still got all 5 cars, and Zach Ehrlich and Josh Soto are not too much further behind. And really, you can count Gianni Morrow and Nicholas Belmont in this group as well.
Yeah, they're starting to close it up. Ehrlich and Soto are. And looks like the next car they're going to catch will be the 69 of Jeremy Fletcher as they come running up on the back of Jeremy here. So this is going to be really interesting to see how this plays out. Oh, maybe not. Maybe I got that wrong.
I thought it'll be Hayden Manis, actually, the 65.
Hayden Manis, that's what I got the number wrong. Got it.
Last car on 65 versus 69. It's a forgivable offense there.
And both slightly pink. So
yeah,
I plead color aversion or something.
Well,
but look at this. I mean, now we've got it. You know, for all intents and purposes, it's 7 cars, isn't it?
No, it is. And again, I don't think you can wait. I don't know that there's a point in waiting. It's so hard to make a pass here that I'm absolutely not going to wait to the last lap to make a pass. So if I have an opportunity, I'm going to take it. We saw Rick Segrini try it. That was his teammate. So clearly, you know, how long are you going to sit here and play the game? I think you got to go. And Soto's going by Ehrlich here at the left-hander.
Working down to the inside. Ehrlich's got the inside though when they get up to the right-hander and onto Paul Newman Straight. But you can see through the windshield, just that little bit of side-by-side has cost them a nice chunk, almost a second to that group up front. So now you got to get after it and do it again. Oh, Ehrlich, that's what we're talking about. Got that car a little sideways coming up over the hillside, saved it. But that too is just going to scrub that little bit of momentum and let those guys out front build that margin.
You know, often it's not how you take off at the top of the uphill, it's how you land. As soon as the car comes back down, if you're pointed the wrong direction, it'll shoot that direction. Here's Soto
Here comes
on Ehrlich.
Soto. Yeah, he got a great run. And that may have all started with that wide run up at the top of the climbing turn when he got a little crossed up. And now Soto floats a little wide. Ehrlich thought about it. But I think right now it'd be in Ehrlich's best interest just tuck in behind, try and run those guys down, then get after it again here.
Yeah, just that one position swap lost them about 0.5 of a second to the group ahead. So you got to be cautious with that. So Rick Segrini still tucked in behind Morgan Burkhardt, Rice Budo, Hibbett, Forster, and Soto, the rest of the top 6, and through the uphill once again. 9 minutes to go. Whoa, Forster's wide.
Way wide, but held on to it. Here's a question for you. This track on these cars is, you know, primarily these right-handers. How is this track on these tires? Do they need to save a little bit for 20-plus laps?
Yeah, they can get pretty hot, especially because you're leaning, as you suppose there, you're leaning a lot on the left side tires. Track temp's 102, so it's not as bad as it could be. I'm not sure that they're conserving necessarily, but absolutely you can get the tires angry. Here comes Rick Segrini down the inside at Big Bend.
And now can Burkhardt stay parked around the outside at the exit? Looks like he's got position. Rick Segrini gonna try and do the same. He's got to keep that nose there. He's working it. He's trying hard. Does he have enough? No. Burkhardt comes across, shuts the door. Rick Segrini sensed it, but Rick Segrini runs a little wide, loses some momentum, and here comes Rice Budo. And this may be that first chink in that armor here, but look at Hibbett trying to go with him here and freeze way out wide. Goes Rick Segrini. He's going to lose another spot potentially.
Oh, he's going to go down. He's getting run by the freight train here as they go through West Bend. That was wild. All the way out to the tire bundles. Rice Budo muscles his way to second. Camden Hibbett's going to try to steal third place away, and Beans Forster sees an opportunity to grab a spot here.
Man, side by side down through the downhill, that's really good stuff. And look who's coming from behind. A big look here from Soto as well. And Piatek has joined this group now. And we've got him again, 2 abreast, almost 3 abreast through Big Bend.
Little contact there. It's going to push Rick Zagrini out wide. He's going to try to keep overlap on Forster. He does, and jams his car back down the inside at the left-hander. He wants that spot back, and it's getting physical between these two.
Oh, and here does he have to give Forster the room? And they do. They both negotiate. Here we go through the right-hander onto Paul Newman. They're still side by side. Maybe even a little touch right there. And again, Beans inside. He's going to... Rick Zagrini trying the outside. Beans gives him the spot. Normally that would scrub a lot of momentum, but somehow Beans just flat-footed it through there, and Soto up alongside Rick Zagrini.
Yeah, this is a fantastic fight. They're losing sight a bit of the battle for the lead. It's Burkhardt leading Rice-Sputo by 0.6 of a second. Hibbett's 0.7 behind that, and then it's just pandemonium for 4th place behind Forster. Now they're single file, but it's far from over here.
Yeah, it's a 2.5 seconds right now from Hibbett back to Forrester. And you know what? That was the announcer's curse without me ever saying anything, because I was Joe who got crossed up there.
Soto.
Well, just a slide and a save, but he definitely is going to lose an awful lot of precious track position here. Did he get any help?
Ehrlich right there.
No. Yeah, but it almost looked, the nose really suddenly dove like he maybe accidentally caught the brake or something. That was strange.
Yeah, maybe just trying to get the thing to rotate, stomp it on the pedal to shift the weight forward. There's Michael Lauren in the 133, Nicholas Belmont, Matt Friedman, and Trace Hance in the 53. He's up a few spots as Friedman has to come to a stop on the uphill there. That was odd.
Yeah, he went almost straight off. I don't know if there was contact with the barrier, but he just speared off on that. Watch it here, that black car.
That was fairly controlled, actually.
Oh, yeah, it was. That was pretty impressive, really. And I think he punched it and is right back in pit lane here. But yeah, I was just about to say, you got to be impressed with Rick Zagrini. You think about last year and how Burkhardt kind of had the measure of everybody, and this year Rick Zagrini has been, as quick or quicker at times, and then all that happened. So my bad, Jordan. I was thinking it and gave you the curse.
Yeah, it's amazing. By the way, the commentator curse is real. Not only I learned the hard way that the commentator curse is applicable in real life as it is in iRacing. So I've learned to hold my tongue at times.
Yeah, when I was doing the IMSA series, Arjuna and Nick, there was this ongoing battle between them about, is the announcer's curse real or not? And they finally asked me, and I said, well, it sure seems like it sometimes, at least.
In iRacing, I think at least 3 times in the last 3 months in an oval race, I've said, I think this race is going to go caution-free. Then immediately the caution comes out.
Comes out.
So if I ever need one.
Yeah, well, if the race is getting a little long in the tooth.
Trace Hance.
There's Trace Hance, trying to fight his way back up from that early moment here, and running in the 11th spot now as he sneaks through on, I think that was Gianno Mauro.
Luke Law, actually. Mauro had an early exit to this race. Didn't catch exactly what happened to him. He's down in 41st out of the race, unfortunately.
Oh, that's a shame.
I think there was a flurry of a couple single car incidents on the same lap, and that was right in the midst of our lead battle, so by the wayside there a bit.
Interestingly here, too, as we continue to watch Trace, as he is really working it strongly here in that 11th spot. Deacon and then as we say that, it happens again. All right. I'd shut up, only I can't.
Yeah.
I'm not supposed to.
No.
But he and Luke Law, what a scrap they're having. And then you got Nicholas Belmont, that white 46. And then the 133 of Michael Lauren behind them. And look at that late move by that number 46 of Belmont. Nice lunge down to the inside and through on Luke Law.
Yeah, that was a textbook pass there. Setting up on the straightaway, popping out to the inside, and then slotting between the 2 cars that you were making the pass on. And he's now going to have a look at Hance here for 11th. They're about 2 seconds back from Deacon Greenfield, who sits in 10th place. And Deacon's had a fairly quiet night, but sometimes that's not such a bad thing, Greg, to just have a nice, quiet, decent points night without any major dramas.
Well, yeah, especially after Sebring, when he accidentally bumped a switch on his console and it cut his brakes out. and he ran right into somebody, and he was just beside himself about that. It's like, hey, it happens, man. Don't worry about it. Was the response. But yeah, and he's quick, and it'd be nice to see him just get a really clean race. And I love the fact that he uses the VR goggles and putting it on. And look at this now as this battle continues here with Belmont going after Trace Hance. And up front, a change of position. Around the outside goes Hibbett, and teammates 1-2 again. And Burkhardt's doing this. Oh, and Hance has an off as well.
Yeah, right as we were jumping at another battle, I think they had a collision. Whoa! Oh, that was a big hit.
That surely was.
He's going to get clipped right there. Ooh, they tangle. That's ugly.
Yeah. That almost looked like a code, didn't it? Because there was no real reason to see Trace's car suddenly go sideways. No contact, and look at it right there.
Yeah, not really. They didn't.
And it snapped sideways on him right there.
Yeah, that's a little net code there for sure.
Yeah.
But it's an ugly result there for Trace Hance after having a decent day.
It sure was. Yeah, certainly not deserved. But it's interesting, you know, we have seen Morgan Burkhardt here in particular when he gets in the lead, even with a very quick teammate, he's been able to sometimes just consistently ease away here. And Rick Segrini looked like he had the pace to stay right with him. But with Rice Puto sitting in that second spot, he'd open that margin up a little bit. But now Hibbett seems to have found some pace and is closing him back down. That margin now down to under half a second, and it had been up to over 3/4 of a second.
Well, he's got that clinical look about his face here. 4/10 back and 2 laps to go. Coming to the white next time by. He's going to need a mistake from Burkhardt probably, Greg, but it's not over till it's over. We've learned that too many times.
Well, we have, and right now I'm not seeing a whole lot of traffic up front, but if they come upon any of that, that could actually spell it too. The top 3 now well clear of everybody with that battling with Forster and Rick Segrini and Ehrlich. They're about 4 seconds back. Barney throws that white flag, 1 to go, and we've got the gaps have sort of split. We got 3 cars battling, then another 3, then a couple back in the order just a little bit. And young Andrew Gilliland up into 9th right now, having a great race. And Soto again dives down to the inside of Ehrlich for that 6th spot.
Remember, they tangled the last time they were together at turn 1. A little more contact there as Soto gets the elbows out and moves by into 6th place. Olivier Piatek trying to right the ship after an ugly round at Sebring. He's up to 8th, and then there's Andrew Gilliland, as you pointed out, Greg, having a great day in the top 10.
Yeah, really, really a solid run. Then behind them is the number 20 of Greenfield in 10th and the 46 of Belmont in the 11th spot. Having a run as well. That pink car in the middle, I think, is down a lap. Here we go, working up and through the final run through West Bend into the diving turn. Here we go, unless there's some major mistake. Morgan Burkhardt going to be back on the top of the box at Lime Rock. Here we go. It's a team sweep. 1-2, Burkhardt and Hibbett with Nicholas Rice Puto in 3rd and Beans hanging on to 4th. Over a persistent Rick Segrini, and look at this drag race, Kyle.
Yeah, Piatek and Gilliland. Piatek will keep 8th. Gilliland very tight behind, but not close enough to snag 8th place away. That's a top 10 there for Gilliland. Greenfield in 10th, as you mentioned. There's Belmont, Lauren, Luke Law, Caleb Patry 14th. Remember, he started from the pit lane. That's why I don't have any data from him. He was supposed to start in the top 10. Started 43rd to 14th.
Yeah.
How about that?
What a great drive. That's impressive stuff. Was also going to point out for Camden Hibbett, you know, we know how fast he is, but you look at his results so far this year coming into this weekend, his average start's been 8th. Hasn't got the qualifying he wanted. His average finish as a result is 6th. And look at that grin. He is back up on the podium and not even just 3rd. He was able to get up to 2nd. And apparently that wrap for that team, that's pretty good luck. That PRG wrap. It gets you up on the box.
It certainly seems to be associated with good results, whether it's
yes, it does.
worn by Burkhardt, Hibbett, or Rick Segrini, or anyone else for that matter. But race is completing. I don't think we're not going to get any time to look at the results because already the session is turning over to our 5-minute warm-up before race number 2 of the night, Greg. That was a fantastic race, and I can't wait for the next one.
It was. Oh no, it's going to get even more intense as well. So, we always love how that's going to unfold. We do want to remind everybody that if you find yourself struggling a little bit, or if you just want to find that extra half a tenth or whatever, go to fullsendsims.com. They have one-on-one training with instructors like Morgan Burkhardt, like Beans Forster, and like Konrad Chachik, and there's others as well. You can get some really good one-on-one instruction, and they also have schools. We just had our most recent school for this race at Lime Rock. The next one will be the 22nd. The 22nd. Those are Thursday nights, and that'll be at Homestead, Miami, Road Course A. So if you want to get a little leg up, because that next Tuesday, that's where we'll be, and that place is great to race on as well. So lots of opportunities, Kyle, that Full Send Sims gives you to hone your craft a little bit.
Absolutely, and I think we visited Homestead earlier in the season, but we visited Road Course B. This is Road Course A, yes. So it has that chicane, a little different than what we ran earlier in the season. Should also mention that we've got Road America left, we've got Road Atlanta left, we've got VIR left. They all have something in common that the tracks before this week had in common. They're all big. They're all very, very fast. This racetrack is the one outlier, but it's still similar names here at the top. So we'll keep an eye on how the field shakes out, but it doesn't seem like the outlier track is throwing too many people for a loop up front.
No, it doesn't, and I think a lot of that is if you're going to be a front runner in Spec Miata, you have to learn how to carry momentum. And that applies whether it's a short bull ring like this or a Road America, because if you could float that little bit of extra speed through each of those 14 corners, you're going to be quicker than the next guy. And so, it isn't a surprise to me. You see a hometown favorite, maybe Ehrlich, coming in here. He's got lots of knowledge on this track. He can get up there and run with them, and that's what makes this exciting, is every once in a while we'll get somebody we're not familiar with that comes in and goes, I can run with these guys.
Yeah, I think what we saw last race was some excellent racing out front, but one of the things I don't think we saw at all was a lead change. So is there anything that was learned that race point for those that were running second, third, and fourth? What can they do different, Greg, to have a different outcome this second race?
Well, I think the first thing is somebody is going to have to jump Morgan at some point. He's just so good when he gets into the lead. And I talked about those little tricks, like, just running off track at the exit of West Bend and not worrying about trying to get back on. And he just floats it over and uses that to widen his angle into the downhill. Other drivers may need to start employing some of those little tricks. That's one of those that doesn't really work in real world racing, but it works here in the sim. And sometimes you just have to come up with those tricks. And that's the one thing that I think, Kyle, people don't realize sometimes about Lime Rock Park. It's short, mile and a half. It's only got one left. How tough can this track be? Well, to get to 9.5 tenths, it's not tough at all. To get to 10 tenths or to that 10.5 tenths, it's really tough to figure that out, and the guys at the front here are doing that.
Yeah, I had a chat with Simon Kirkby a couple years ago about Lime Rock Park as one of the instructors here, and he was recalling back to one of the famous driver from the 1960s and 70s that said, that downhill, if you lift 365 days from today, you'll still be dead. You got to keep your foot in it and keep the power down to keep that car pointed. That last section, really, through West Bend in the downhill section, you have to be fully committed. It's very, very line sensitive. You don't see a lot of side-by-side through there because, frankly, it's just very hard to be that way. Problem is, right after it opens up into that long front stretch, that's your best passing opportunity. So how you get through West Bend and that downhill really gives you your passing opportunity into turn one, and there's not a lot of those to go around on the short 1.5 mile track.
Yeah, and what compounds that, not only is it line sensitive, but they're interrelated, of course, it's very pitch sensitive. So you lift at the wrong time and you pin the nose, you're done. You go to the throttle at the wrong time and push wide, you're done. And so it's really, I think that's one of the great corners in terms of having to run the tightrope down the hill. It really is tricky. Hey, I also want to remind everybody that, we talk about Full Send Sims. Well, they've got their new sim rig out now. It's called the Pro Ultimate. It is spectacular, and you're going to want to check that out. They have sims at pretty much every price point, and this new Pro Ultimate rig is just phenomenal. It features triple screen setup with a 49-inch center monitor, side monitors, 34-inch fourth or top monitor for telemetry, track data, maps, etc. And again, all you have to do is go to fullsendsims.com and check that out. And anything you can do to support Full Send Sims is going to eventually make its way into continuing to make this series, the Full Send Sims Esports iRacing Spec Miata Championship, better and better.
Yeah, let me tell you, from having built a sim myself, I would have much rather had someone else do it, especially someone with as much experience as Court has at Full Send Sims. It can be really overwhelming. Also, I think one of the things Court does that's really cool is, he'll take whatever your real racing experience is or the real car that you've got, and he'll match you with gear that is a better approximation of the car that you're actually driving. So if you've got a car that has paddle shifters, he'll set you up with gear that does that. If you've got an H pattern, he'll set you up with that. Floor mounted versus hanging pedal styles. All those things are configurable and things you wouldn't necessarily think about to make that experience a bit more realistic. That's something Court's got a ton of experience in over years and years of doing this, not only for simulators, but for the racing side, but also for military. So he knows how to pay attention to detail and get all those things just right.
Well, and the level of customization that they can do. He had a customer that bought a body shell, an actual shell of a NASCAR stock car, a cup car, had it gutted, and Court built a sim to sit inside it for him to be able to go race in. So yeah, it's just amazing. Anything you want, Full Send Sims can provide it for you, including an absolutely furiously delightful racing series for Spec Miatas. Temperature up to 107 degrees, still not terrible, but it's warming up, Kyle.
It is, and it's pretty humid as well, but the cars are rolling off for their pace lap, and on the left-hand side of the screen will be your starting lineup for this one, and Morgan Burkhardt is going to be on that front row. And you mentioned it, someone's got to get by him, but he's got a teammate on the front row just like he did in race 1. That teammate is a different teammate, though. Rick Segrini will roll off 5th on the inside of row 3. So he's got some work to do to get back to where he started race 1.
Yeah, he does. And also, let's not count out Nicholas Rice-Puto. He's been showing some really good pace. And if he can get up and alongside Hibbett down into Big Bend and hold him wide, then he can split that duo up and maybe try attacking on Burkhardt here. Same thing for Beans. If he can somehow find a way around the outside and get up into there, Beans is going to go after them as well. So there's potential here. Just somebody's got to realize that potential and make that move and do it early.
Andrew Gillen is going to start this race from 9th. He started kind of mid-pack there in race 1 and drove his way into the top 10. We'll see what he can do starting from within it. And then Olivier Piatek didn't really go up very high. He kind of finished roughly where he started, which is a bit of a surprise for me. Been a bit of a tough mid-season here for Olivier in that 62.
It really has. I mean, we've seen his speed. We've talked about his aggression on the starts, but he has just had either some bad luck where he's been hit or has had some other kind of a problem. So we'll see how it plays out here. But we're ready to go. Second of the doubleheaders, 20 minutes. That's 20-plus laps around the bull ring here at Lime Rock, and we are getting ready to go racing. This field is packed up tight and ready to launch. Watch for it. You can see a little bit of a lag there by Camden Hibbett. Is he going to try and time it and get a little bit better of a run? We're green, and Beans is going to give him a big shove. See if they can't force their way. Here comes on the outside Piatek trying to figure out a way to make up some moves early. He's going to make it 3 abreast into Big Bend, and cars behind a couple at least, but up front, look at this scrum. Piatek just barely keeps it on track.
That was an amazing start. He only picked up 2 spots, but they were brave spots to pick up, and he's still trying to move forward. A couple cars did spin. I've marked that. We can take a look at it a bit later, but it's frantic here on the start. There's Soto squeaking to the outside of Zach Ehrlich in the 181, just fighting for space. Deacon Greenfield there up to 9th place as he chases the duo side by side, Soto and Ehrlich.
Oh, and Soto a little bit wide on the turn into the uphill, and he's given up a little bit of a spot. Can the nose come alongside by Deacon Greenfield? Oh, and Greenfield gets tapped from behind by the 133 of Lauren, but Greenfield saves it, but it's going to cost him that momentum in about 5 spots.
Yeah, you can see the frustration there as he tries to just wrangle the car back together. He's going to lose a whole bunch of spots, and it's frantic up ahead still. Ehrlich and Piatek side by side. This is for 6th. Ehrlich wants one back. Piatek's going to lose it. He was up to 6th, now back down to 7th.
Boy, and Soto almost stuffed it up underneath Piatek, and I don't think Piatek had a clue that he was coming from that far back, and it would have been contact, but at the last moment, Soto said, all right, this isn't on. And now we saw Piatek cutting to the inside of Ehrlich, and they are side by side as they get into the right-hander heading on to Paul Newman. Is he going to be able to stay put? And even so, he's still going to be on the outside, although he pinched Ehrlich enough. I think it scrubbed Ehrlich's speed, and he may have enough, but he's way wide. Can he hang on to it? He does.
Ooh, he's through back to sixth place. That was a hard-fought battle there that he's finally cleared, but at what cost? Forster's now almost a full second up the road. And
boy, I'll tell you, but Piatek, he has shown the big attachments here, as David Hobbs would say, willing to go around the outside more than once already here.
Yeah, he's not been shy about it, that's for sure.
No.
And it's tight for the lead here as well. Rasputo taking a look at Camden Hibbett, but he's not able to crack the pressure on the 132. So still two teammates leading the way here, but it's just by a nose.
Yeah, and then sitting right behind Rick Segrini, who I'm sure is a little frustrated after showing such speed early. Then Forster, as you said, a little less than a second back, trying to run this group up front down. And then this long conga line. I mean, look at the number of cars that are within a second or so here. Super close.
How about a conga line here? Watch this. This is 39 cars going by your viewport here on this climb up the hill.
I just love this shot. And yeah, watching this, and then ooh, side by side there. And then I love watching the conga line as they come up and over this rise. And the next camera shot usually is one of my absolute favorites. When they just come popping up over that. It is spectacular to watch, no question. But look at this now. Hibbett is saying, look, I've got some pace here, Morgan. Let me help you, see if we can break this guy. And Rasputo going, yeah, it's not happening that easy.
No, he's not going anywhere. I'm actually surprised he didn't pop out of line there. He might have felt like there was an opportunity, but it looked like he sat on it. I'm not a big fan of sitting on it here at Lime Rock. There's just not that many opportunities. We'll see if next time by is a bit different. I'm not so worried right now, but once you get past halfway, you just 10 laps. You might take 8 tries, and if one of those tries fails, you got to start all back over from zero. So not a lot of fun there. Let's go back and look at the initial start and see if we can pick out where that crash happened at turn 1. I didn't see exactly where it started. Maybe we'll look from high above here. This is probably behind it.
Yeah, watch up front.
Oh, the double zero, I think Max Bankin was the one that went around, and they were 4 wide.
Patrick, maybe? Yeah. Boy, you know, this year if Caleb has any luck, it's bad. It's just unbelievable for this guy.
Started mid-pack there were 4 abreast. That just doesn't work at Lime Rock.
Yeah, no.
Well, I did see Grid Life guys do it once. And I said, you cannot do that as they were doing it. So they proved me wrong that day.
Yeah, but, you know, that's one of those, you know, that, you know, you'll make that work 1 in 10 times maybe. So that was that one shot here. And we got a little breakaway as we've been talking about that margin now back to Forster about a second right now. He's really got to dig deep to get back to Rick Segrini here. He's running kind of all by himself. Then it's Piatek also kind of by himself. And then Ehrlich, Soto, and then this group led by Lauren and Belmont.
Yeah, that next group with Lauren and Belmont leading, that's an interesting group because I don't think they've been this far forward. Lauren started 12th, first crack into the top 10 today. Rowan Gill, been a while since we've seen Rowan up in the front here. Started 15th up to 11th, and then Andrew Gillen's down a few spots but still lingering in the top 15.
Yeah, he's just hanging right there, isn't he? Right on the back right now of the 174. Nice to have Rowan back with us. We haven't seen him with us yet this year, and we know he's one of the quick drivers out there, so good to have him on board.
Odo and Ehrlich, these two have just been
they are
throwing jabs at each other all night long.
They have.
Need to settle this one in a dark alley, probably.
Yeah, and the thing that's impressive, they've been throwing those jabs, but they really haven't lost much time to Piatek. So they've been doing this without scrubbing a whole lot of momentum, and you got to appreciate what they're doing here. You know, you love to see this close quarters racing and it being that effective.
Yeah, there's some damage on the rear of the 181, so he's had someone inside the trunk of that thing, probably a bit too close.
Yeah, the old chrome horn.
Yeah. Oh, here we go. Battle for second as Rasputo's grabbed it from Hibbett on the front straightaway. He's through to P2. That is a critical pass because he's going to split the teammates up from the top spot.
Yeah, and Rick Segrini trying to work his way around Hibbett as well. He's got a little bit of overlap, but not enough. He was going to have to let it. And this is allowed. Look who's right there again. Beats Forster. Oh, no. The number 46 having an off.
I think leaders have settled for a moment. We'll have a look here. Contact from the 174. A little optimistic there probably, and that was Roland Gill down the inside.
Yeah, and that's Belmont, who you were just talking about. There's that curse again.
Yeah, well,
having a really good run up into the top 10 here. We are relentless, aren't we? It's terrible.
Oh, look at Gilland. He's up to 10th with those two tangling.
Nice.
He's got Lauren right in the crosshairs here at West Bend.
All right, watch him. It's that little dip of the brakes. Don't overslow here. And then down the hill you go. Turns in a little bit earlier. Now, he got in his mirrors. And as a result, Lauren runs just a little bit wide. And Gilland down to the inside. Gilland has some pressure as well because he's got Gill going right with him.
And for the lead.
Look at this, for the lead.
Bryce Budo got the elbows out. Here we go.
He gave a little bump, and look at that, Morgan giving it right back.
Well,
and that cost him 3, maybe 4 spots. I think he's going to, there's a little touch there with Beats, too.
Yeah, that was a little bit hands-on. Let's go back and see how that kind of happened. Let's go back a little further. Down here to turn 1, has the overlap. Kind of knocks out Burkhardt here. Burkhardt did kind of pinch him a bit, and then right into turn 3.
There, Burkhardt says,
thanks.
I'm coming at you. Little intimidation there, and that's part of the game. You know, if you can make the other guy flinch a little bit, and especially if you could do it without any kind of contact, you've won, essentially, at least in that small battle. Maybe not the war here, but the bad news is it's 3 PRG cars running 1, 2, 3 right now, led by Burkhardt. So for Rice, Pudo, and Forster, this job just got much, much tougher.
Well, immovable object versus unstoppable force. We'll see what happens in the next couple of laps, I suppose. How much fire Rice Budo's got stoking the steam engine right now.
And you can see that little gap to Forster, then the 2 green cars. First one with the white lightning bolts of Piatek sitting in a somewhat lonely 6th.
These 2.
Somebody pulled, and then this battle. And they've been at this since the drop of the flag.
Someone's got to.
This is fun stuff.
Get the bouncer to break up this fight between these 2. They have been locked together all night long. And sometimes that's fun, and sometimes you are just exhausted from seeing the same car over and over and over and over again, like Groundhog Day.
Yeah, you look in your mirror, and he's always there. He looks up, and he's always staring at that bumper. And now Soto using that little bit of a toe. And there's not a lot of draft here, but there is enough, and Soto is through. Now he gets out a little wide, though, and right back to the inside goes Ehrlich. But Soto, that was more of the early apex, dive in the corner, dive down again, and it just wasn't quite enough room for Ehrlich to counterpunch. And now it is Soto up into that 7th spot.
Yeah, Ehrlich had a big flat slide there in left-hander, so I think he might have burned up the tires a bit. Jumping back up to 2nd place. Hibbett's 4/10 back from Jordan Rixigrini. Maybe Jordan's got some fire left in him here to go back at Morgan Burkhardt and take another run at him here in the last half of this race.
Yeah, and at this stage here, is there any way that you think that Camden might say, looks like Jordan's got more pace, I'll let him through, run with him, try and get back up to Morgan? Or is Hibbett just going to hold on to that 2nd and put his head down?
He's pretty new to the team, Greg. I think he's got to do the right thing for his team. But, you know, who knows what the rules of engagement are at PRG. They seem to race each other pretty hard. I don't know that I've seen, other than them working together willingly, they don't seem to cut each other breaks. It's just if there's a clear opportunity to work together, they will do it. But when push comes to shove, they have pushed and they have shoved.
Yeah, at a certain point, the friendly teammate gloves go off and the boxing gloves go on. So no question about that. But look at Rice Pudo. He is absolutely hounding right now, trying to figure out a way back through on Rixigrini. And at this point, again, these cars are the same spec, it's a setup on the car, and a big wide run there by Rice Pudo, but you can see it didn't hurt his momentum. It might have even helped him. Here's a draft opportunity, possibly down at a Big Bend. Let's see if he can pull it off.
Yeah, he's got to do this pass 3 times if he wants to win this race. So this is a great opportunity to practice it. But see, he doesn't get enough of a run. Rick Sigarini's able to counter, and goes in a bit shallow. He's going to wash out
but
wide.
he's wide.
He cut down very, very well.
Yeah, that was impressive. And I think what happened was right as Rice Puto was thinking, I've got a toe, I'm gonna make that move. Rick Segrini got a little taste of a double toe, and then we both thought that he was gonna float way wide there, and somehow he got that car to hunker down and just absolutely carved that corner beautifully.
Yeah, did a great job on defense there. Now Camden Hibbett on offense here on his own teammate, 10th and a half back. We saw earlier he willingly stayed in line. If he gets a chance, I wonder if now he'll go for a pass because he's got a teammate behind him as well.
Yeah, and the thing is, you're part of a team, yes, but whoa, and there is a big wide run by Rick Segrini. And does that help Rice Puto? And Rice Puto may have breathed out of it, and looks like we might see a nice little move here, possibly by Forrester down in there.
Yeah, Forrester's close, but again, the slipstream not crazy effective. It never really has been in this car. Of course, it's gotten stronger through the changes the setup has seen the last couple of seasons, but it's still not, the end-all be-all, especially not at this racetrack. So got to work pretty hard to get it, especially when everyone's in such an orderly line and drafting off of each other.
I'll tell you, just like that first race, this one is absolutely flying by once again here as we're watching Colin Weiss, another of the teammates for that big team right now, sitting in the 12th spot. He's got Trishan Cadet right behind him in that black and lime green car, and then a recovering Deacon Greenfield. And then Wozencroft.
He's recovering. He finished 21st in that first race after having a spin relatively early on, but recovering nicely and up to 15th place.
And Blethen, then Butler, who had that problem in that first race. Trace Hance in the mix as well, as he sneaks through on Blethen, actually. Then Richard Sawicki, that completes your top 20. And Jose de las Casas sitting in the 21st spot right now. Jose had a very busy weekend this past weekend at the FARA opener at Homestead Miami Speedway. Management, driver, dad, all those things. And still one of the more fun graphics you got up there.
Love it. The number one. Oh, contact there with Caleb Patry. That was a little. Caleb's going to just spear straight off. His night just continues to spiral downhill with the rest of the season, unfortunately. By the way, Joshua Soto has snuck by Piatek through all that.
Oh, so Josh, that puts him up into 6. So it's a really good run for him. He needed this. I mean, we've seen some great speed from him, but he's sort of like Piatek, sort of like Patry, have just been wrong spot, wrong time a few times here, and to have him putting together a nice run is really good here. And with 5.5, actually about 6 minutes to go here, it's now a 5-car scrap and maybe a 2-car breakaway. These guys really seem to be working well with each other here.
Yeah, so again, I pose the question for Camden. We see how challenging it is to make passes. Nobody's passed Morgan Burkhardt successfully yet.
Yeah.
So, I don't know that 2 laps to go is the right time to try it for the first time. So if I'm Camden, I know he's my teammate. I got to try something.
Yeah. And again, if that goes a little sideways, Rick Segrini, another teammate, so you may not be hurting the team too much. The thing for all of these guys is they may be as fast or maybe a little quicker than Morgan pretty much everywhere on the track. But to me, Morgan, from turn in here to West Bend, and look at that wide run. He just opens this entry up and floats so much speed down through the bottom here that it's tough for anybody to get a really good run on him.
It has been
Hibbett
tough.
may have done it this time.
Yeah, he's still about 10th and a half
closest.
It's like watching a race at Daytona with the NASCAR stock cars. They're all running single file, and they can never really organize the second line. And you're watching it going, you need to do something. But they all have it in their minds that they're going to make this pass, and then it never formulates. That's why I'm concerned that Hibbett hasn't gone for a pass yet. Because it's just not as easy as it was last week at Sebring, where you were a sitting duck out front.
Well, and you wonder if he goes for it, if Rick Segrini's close enough, who would Rick Segrini go with, right?
Right.
When they come out of that diving turn, it'd be interesting to see whether Rick Segrini goes, all right, I'll go with you. Let's see if we can force our way through here. After all, Rick Segrini battling for the points lead. And I don't think Rick Segrini, he's a teammate, but right now he's looking for a championship too.
Rick Camden looking fairly relaxed right now and just sizing up Burkhardt potentially here. We are now going to be at the 4 lap to go mark, just about.
Yeah, looks about right.
Hey, here he goes.
This time he looks. He's got to run. Burkhardt breaks.
And he's through.
Yeah, he's through, and that was partially Burkhardt. You can see Burkhardt, he actually braked a little earlier than we've seen him, understanding if I fight him, one, we're both going to lose time and speed. Two, I can lose a position to Rick Zagrini. So he dipped the brakes, knew that little gap back to Rick Zagrini was there, Kyle. Dipped the brake, tucked right back in behind, and stays with that little bit of a margin. It's not a lot, but 3/10 is 3/10.
Well, now we're going to get to see it turn the other way. Burkhardt has not run on any other place than first all night long. So this will be his first time having to make a pass back. 3 minutes is a pretty quick crash course on how to get passes done at Lime Rock Park.
Yes, it is. And let's see, this is where he usually has a lot of speed. A little wide there. Missed that apex just a little bit that time. Looks. And there's Jordan Rick-Zagrini. As Jordan looks to the inside. I don't think he's close enough.
Oh, might have been.
Well, he gets in deep on the brakes, but not, yeah.
Might have been a partial defense on Rice Pudo just to dissuade him from going down the inside there.
I think you may be right, yep. And of course, this has brought Beans right back into this.
Yeah, he'll pick up the scraps if anyone throws one down.
Yeah, exactly.
Look at the run Burkhardt's going to get here on the Paul Newman straight.
Yeah.
Hibbett covers it off. Did a nice job there.
Yeah, he had to, because you're right. That line that Burkhardt ran, he was visibly quicker through there. Now through the uphill, look at how close it is.
This is inches
Hear
between
that
these
little lift.
two.
You can hear that little bit of wheel spin. It's fierce. Ooh, Camden a little wide of the apex there. Got to keep your boot in it. Does that. Burkhardt's so close.
Here we go.
He's coming. He's coming. Ooh, maybe not.
Gave a push.
Thought about it. Yeah.
Olivier Piatek has had a problem. I'm going to mark it. We'll look at it here in a moment as the battle for the lead is still on. 2 laps to go.
And again, Rice Pudo looking to the outside, and mostly as a result of Rick Zagrini just feinting inside to protect a little bit here. Oh, this is fascinating just watching this, and I love looking back. 5 cars going at it here with just a couple laps to go at the bull ring. Morgan hunting right now.
Oh, surely not up the outside at the uphill. He tried to stick the nose there. That was never going to work, Greg. But you got to try something. Keep him guessing in the rear view here.
Yep, Rice Pudo running way wide on the uphill. And Forster took a quick peek here. But as I talked about in the open, Rice Pudo's way off.
Oh, man.
Is he going to be able to save this? Somehow he does. And he might even get a run on Rick Zagrini. That was the Burkhardt line right there.
Battle for first, battle for third. White flag in the air, 1.5 miles left. Hibbett goes defensive, and they're almost 3 wide for third.
Oh, Burkhardt could not keep that. Oh, what a touch! And that is let Beans Forrester come through as Rick Zagrini and Rice Pudo just tapped each other. They both floated, and Beans Forrester found a way through.
Now Hibbett is just laser focused out the windshield here. He's going to glance up in the mirror before the straightaway just to see what Burkhardt's going to do. Burkhardt doesn't have the entire front straightaway to make a pass into one, so he's going to have to force it somewhere else. Into the uphill, side by side, yes!
Oh! He's
Contact.
through. They touch again.
Oh!
Contact for Hibbett. Forster, I think, caught out as well. No, he got through. How did Beans avoid that? That is amazing. Down the hill we go. Burkhardt gonna get the win, but Beans Forrester up into second and Rick Zagrini into third. Wow, what a final lap here of race 2 at Lime Rock Park.
That could get ugly, though, post-race.
I think so, too. Oh, look at this, speaking of ugly.
That's going to hurt. Oh, man. Andrew Gilliland nose on into the barriers at West Bend, and Blethen and Hance and more tangled.
What a shame.
There's more cars still coming into this mess, having to clear it.
There's the 121 of Eric Grimm. That great Martini livery on that car. Down to the finish line, but yeah, whoa.
Blethen got caught again. Yeah, he was running kind of slow because of the damage, and he got clipped as the cars were trying to go by.
He's just going to that right front is broken. Not able to do anything here.
More than the right front.
Yeah, the whole front.
Yeah.
I think that whole steering rack has been pretty tortured here.
Yeah. So let's go back and analyze some of this. So the first thing
exactly.
was Olivier Piatek. He had an issue that had him off course. This was actually at West Bend. He had damage probably coming up the uphill here, Greg. He's probably going to catch he had it before that.
Got that curb.
Oh, there it is.
Just grazed the wall. And that's enough.
Went straight.
Yep, you can see that left front corner is pretty badly dinged.
And here's this. This is doors open. Then jumps off the curb and just kind of tags Camden.
Yeah, and I understand you get that curb, but you've got to anticipate that curb is going to send you, if you get it hard enough, and then this mess.
Yeah, so
that's a real shame. These guys are having a great race.
I think Gillen bounced off the fence, and then they just kind of all stacked up together, and 3 into 1 does not go.
Nope. What a shame. They were really having a solid run there. That was really unfortunate. But getting back to the Morgan deal, you've got to anticipate if you're going to clout that curb, it's going to move you. And, I believe in this rule book, it states clearly it's the responsibility of overtaking driver. And it's not like Soto, that Hibbett turned down on him. He did give him some room knowing he was there. But that curve just pitched Morgan right into him. So I think you're right. I think there's going to be a fair amount of discussion here. And unfortunately, it doesn't help Camden at all. No, that's going to be a frustrating end for Camden, unfortunately. And we'll see if he'll come and chat. We certainly have Jordan Rick-Segrini ready to chat. And the 108 finishes in 3rd place tonight. Jordan Rick-Segrini, P3. Congratulations, man. Another podium here tonight. But the racing up front got incredibly fierce there at the end. There's some paint traded amongst teammates as well, but all in all, pretty good points day for you in that 108. Weren't able to stay up in 2nd where you started in the first race, but you'll grab a podium in race 2.
Yeah, definitely came away with good points. This is normally a track that I don't do so well with. I just don't drive with the flow of the track for some reason, and so I came in just hoping to score some good points and was in a real good place in race 1 and got stuck on the outside when Morgan had a little mistake, and I was freight train just nowhere to get back in line and shuffled away down and fought back a couple spots, and then definitely a good race too, and took advantage of some other people's mistakes and just tried to keep it consistent.
Well, I would think, based on what you just said here, Jordan, about, you never feel like you gel with the rhythm here. In that first race, for a bit of it, it looked to me like you actually maybe had a little bit more pace even than Morgan did. You've got to be pleased that you seem to have found that rhythm a little bit there because you certainly were quick.
Yes, absolutely. This is, like I said, a place where I've never really driven with and been putting in the hours on the sim and with the series, and it seems like finally I found the flow and the pace here to be able to contend with Morgan and the other front runners.
Yeah, and you came in here with a 5-point lead with the drops already sort of factored in here. Starting the second half of the season, are you really now starting to think about, what do I need to do to win this championship? You talk about get some good points. This isn't a great track for me. That sounds to me like big picture championship thinking.
Yes, absolutely. Trying to keep the championship in mind, not throw it away with trying to go for some crazy move and go off the track and hit a wall and not be able to score points.
Well, that makes sense, and obviously, you're a heck of a battle now with Nicholas Rice-Puto, who had a good race here, a couple races here as well. But some of what's going on, you've got Morgan Burkhardt, who's down in 7th. Your teammates stealing points from some of your other competitors, and if you could only get in front of them a couple of times, that would be nice, huh?
Yes, absolutely. Gonna try my best.
We know you will, bud. We know you will. As always, just a treat to watch you race, and nice job.
Thank you, Greg. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Jordan. We'll see you next time.
Thank you, Tom.
And let's move along now. How about Nicholas Rice-Puto, who brings the 0-3 home in 4th in race number 2, but 3rd in race 1. A podium and a 4th on the day, Nicholas, but almost had it there in race 2, but got shuffled out of it. It was elbows out tonight in Lime Rock, as it always is. Take us through your races this evening up front with the PRG teammates seemingly in every direction.
Yeah, it was super fun. It's just super hard to pass here, so once you get an opportunity, you really have to try to make it work. And I got alongside Morgan, and we just made some contact, no biggie.
And I was going to ask, I'm sure you heard me ask this of Jordan, but now starting the second half of the season here, you've got that 5-point lead coming in. Are you thinking championship now at all? I mean, big picturing it, or are you just thinking wins?
Yeah, no, I'm thinking championship now, so that's why I wasn't overly aggressive, but still got to try to get the positions when you can.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that because when you got those 2 or 3 teammates, and they're obviously very quick as well, it has to be really difficult to find a way through when they've got a wingman behind protecting and all of that, and it just requires big risk sometimes, doesn't it?
Yeah, especially here when there's not a lot of space.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, again, a very well-judged drive. You showed some great speed and, having a great run leading the championship coming in. Probably still will be at the end of this as well. Well done, man.
Thank you, guys.
Of course. We'll see you next time, Nicholas. Thanks. And let's talk with Camden Hibbett. Brings the car home in 12th. But race 1, you snagged a second there, Camden. So new colors on the car tonight, but certainly it didn't pan out quite the way you were hoping at the end of that second race. Take us through that battle up front. It was fierce. It was a fun one, but it didn't end quite the way I think you wanted.
No, it's just a racing deal. Me and Morgan were on the call together, and honestly, I wasn't expecting him to make that move, but it was partially on me for not checking my mirror, and a lot of it, I think, was ultimately iRacing netcode stuff. Because we definitely made contact, but I don't think we should have. It should have sent me out that far. But no, awesome racing tonight. Super fun. I'm super glad to finally. I've been a PRG member for the season, but just haven't had delivery ready. So I'm super excited to finally carry the colors for the remainder of this season and moving forward. So yeah, looking forward to next week. Don't know where we're gonna be, but definitely some fun racing tonight. And yeah, just a racing deal at the end there.
Yeah, it looked like as that turn-in, happened, he went for it, and you gave him some room. You definitely gave him a little bit of room. He just got that curb pretty good, and just bounced his car into you a little bit. I would agree. I thought that the amount of off that you suddenly had there, for that, what looked like it wasn't that big of a touch, that maybe, was part of it. But we've seen the great speed out of you, but in that race, that first race, you matched that speed with just some absolute smooth precision driving, sticking right with Morgan. One, did you learn a little bit following Morgan around this track where he is just so brilliant? And two, do you think you're going to be in the fight for the rest of the year? Now, you're not that far out of the points.
Yeah, I definitely think I learned a little bit tonight from Morgan, but honestly, just joining PRG at the beginning of the season has completely helped my driving. Just learning from everybody, the owners, Morgan, Nathan Nicholson, and John Carlos Schooler. All 3 of them have helped my driving a ton. And I think that in general has just made me a better race car driver. And yeah, definitely following Morgan tonight also helped a little bit at this track. I was just kind of being smart the first couple laps. I knew I couldn't lose the leaders. Because it is kind of hard. The whole top 10, 15 were so close tonight.
Yeah,
on pace. You had to stay at the front if you wanted a shot at the win in the end. So I was just being smart, picking them off one by one. And then at the end there, Nick missed the apex a little bit, opened the door. Just ran out of time to get to Morgan. But yeah, definitely was super happy with how race 1 went and just the consistency and pace I was able to show. Morgan is obviously three-time champion. He's one of the best in the business in this car, if not the best. So super stoked to be able to hang with him all race.
Well, and I'll tell you, last comment here is you passed him with a great run through the diving turn, which is where he feeds usually at this track, and you not only matched him for pace, you just out momented him right down through the diving turn and made that pass into Big Bend. That was great stuff, man. Just always so fun to watch you race. Thanks for being a part of the series.
Yeah, thank you. I cannot wait for next week and finishing the season. I think I'm 40 to 50 points back in Nick, so I don't know if the championship is still in play, but definitely going to keep pushing and see what we can do.
Well, best way to close that down is just win, baby.
That's absolutely right.
Winning solves all.
Right.
Thanks, Camden. All right, let's move on now to Beans. Forster comes home second place in this race. Finished 4th in race 1, Beans, but all of a sudden the seats part and you find yourself second in the last couple of laps. Take us through your fight, especially those last couple laps when you were up there following that train and all of a sudden you find yourself nearly the lead locomotive.
Starting on the outside in the beginning there in race 2, I knew I was just going to drop back a little bit. I didn't realize I was going to drop back that far, but a little bit of luck kind of brought me back to the pack. And then just waited for my spot, tried to just stick nice and tight because I knew that if a mistake were to happen, then I would have to be right there, ready to pounce to make that pass. And then sure enough, it happened on the last lap.
Yeah, it did. And I mean, you know, right spot, right time, and sometimes it's opportunism versus outright pace. You had the pace, you could run with them. Yeah, when the seas parted, you were there. But I got to say, you had a massive escape move I think there was something on Discord. Was it at Indy in something where you had an evasive move? And how you got through this mess, that's like 2 weeks in a row. You had to absolutely just be amazing in evasive action to get through. And this time it was a podium result.
Yeah, and there was also another one at Sebring,
yes.
last Sebring race with
right.
me and Wozy.
Yeah,
on Oliver. So
yep.
I'd like to think that that's probably one of my strongest suits within the simulator. Is just that I know what the car's going to do.
Yep.
When I give it input. So when I see a car starting to spin, I'm looking at more than just the car and where it's going. I'm looking at the tire marks to help me get a good idea of the angle in which the car's moving, what direction is the momentum going. If I can see tire smoke ahead of time, then I'm already looking ahead, because that's kind of how I knew where Camden was going up the hill a little bit, because as soon as we crested it, I saw a little bit of tire smoke, heard a little bit of crashing, and then I figured that, hey, he was on the outside going in the uphill, so he's going to hit the wall and probably go out to the right.
All kinds of telltale signals, absolutely. One thing I wanted to mention, Beans, away from this race, but I was watching some of the comments on Discord, and you're one of the instructors, obviously, with the schools and the one-on-ones. And what impresses me is you take it outside of that. When those schools are done, you posted some video of an incident at Indy, and you asked some of the people, why didn't I spin here? What are you looking at? What do you see? You are constantly striving to keep pushing the knowledge base, the nuance of driving a race car. And that's not just you, that's all the instructors that are part of the Full Send Sims instruction group, isn't it?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm a big how and why kind of person. So for me and that's kind of what I use to get better in the simulator, is I figure out the hows and the whys. What am I doing, and what is the car doing with those inputs, and why is it doing that? And kind of like the physics behind it. I even bought a vehicle dynamics a Bible, as some would call it.
Yeah.
And I kind of go to that every now and again when I'm looking and kind of diving into some of these situations, figuring out like traction loss and weight transfer and whatnot. Because I feel like if I can truly understand the physics behind it, then I can manipulate it better in my favor.
Well, racing sometimes is a puzzle, and you are the puzzle master, my friend. So well done. Congratulations. That was a great second place.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. Thanks.
Thanks, Beans. And last to chat with, but first on the racetrack tonight in both races, Morgan Burkhardt of the number 40, right where we picked off or left off from Sebring a couple of weeks ago. Morgan, congratulations. 2 wins tonight. The first one never really had to look out the windshield much. It was all in the rear view. But race 2, I think you didn't lead for maybe 2 or 3 laps, but you stole it back there in the tail end. Take us through the fight there with Camden Hibbett in the end of race 2 and triumphantly winning both races tonight at Lime Rock.
Yeah, no, I coming into this event, I felt really, really good. We had a good car under us. I mean, everybody has the same car, but I figured out how to really roll a bunch of speed through these corners and really make every straight longer than it actually is, so I can roll a ton of speed and get super good runs out of the corners. And once Camden went through, I kind of figured that he was going to make a move, because it's so hard to pass here. If you can get it done and you have an opportunity to, you pretty much have to go for it. So I bet on him going through, and since I had that stockpile of knowledge of how to get really, really good runs out of the corners, I was waiting until the white flag. I was going to pressure him a little bit on the 2 to go, get him a little bit uncomfortable, and then the white flag, I knew where I was going to do it. I had a really, really good run coming out of turn 4, and that was the one place that I was almost positive he wouldn't expect it. And I threw it up the inside and got on the curb a little bit, and when we got off the curb, we made a little bit of contact in the middle of the corner, and it's very unfortunate, and I think it was partly exaggerated by iRacing, and at the end of the day, it's really unfortunate. It's not the way I would want to make that move done, and I feel bad for him because I think he went back to 12th, and definitely not the way that we wanted that to end. But it was pretty good dice up until that point.
Oh, it was absolutely fabulous. And, we had seen you a couple of times coming through the right-hander turn 4, as you talked about it. Just using a slightly different line, eating a little bit more curb, and getting a huge head of steam built up. And so that, that's what, looked like paid big dividends for you. But what impressed me with Camden's pass was the downhill, where we've talked about it before, where you've got a unique line through there sometimes, and you just roll so much speed. And he was able to either he learned from you or maybe there was a little mistake you made that we didn't see. But that's where he got that run on you. Did that surprise you?
Well, I got to keep my cards close to my chest here. The short answer is yes, it surprised me. We'll just say that, and that is the answer to that question.
Fair enough. I understand. And I did notice going into Big Bend when he got alongside, really smart move. I saw you dip the brake a little sooner, let him through, dove right in behind him to not lose, any more momentum. And obviously that paid off in the end. I want to ask you one last question, Morgan. We heard everybody we've talked to, including you, just said it's so tough to pass here. Would running the chicane on that uphill, it's not as fun, I grant you, not even close, but would that maybe provide another overtaking area?
Yes and no. The problem with the chicane right before the uphill is those big sausage curbs. They take a car and basically launch it to the stratosphere, and it's nerve-wracking to go through there for 20 minutes because you have to do it 19, 20 times. So
right.
It's very difficult from that standpoint, and you don't really get an extra passing zone unless somebody makes a mistake. But I'm a really big fan of the West Bend chicane, the one, the second to last corner, this one right here. You can make some moves in there. There's the penalty of a slowdown if you try and cheat it a little bit too much, and it slows the pack down nice. And I've had some really, really good races on the West Bend chicane layout, and I think if we were to come back here and we wanted to spice it up a little bit more, West Bend would be the move.
All right. Well, we'll hope that all of the Full Send Sims folks were paying attention, and maybe we'll do that next time. Morgan, congratulations, man. A sweep. Welcome back.
Thank you very much. And 4 rounds to go. I think this championship is still very much alive.
I think so too, man.
Thanks, Morgan. All right, Greg, wrapping things up here from Lime Rock. It never disappoints. I think that's been very, very clear. Every time we come here, it's always a frantic fight. But we're back to the big tracks next week and beyond.
Road America.
Oh, boy, the biggest of them all, actually, the National Park of Speed. I can't wait. One of my favorite racetracks. It's now kind of local to me as well. So I'm very, very excited for that. It always puts on a show. Very different from what we saw this week, but that's what's up next.
Yeah, America's Nürburgring, as I like to call it. And it's just phenomenal. And the racing is going to be crazy with those long straights and the high speed sections. The drafting is going to be off the hook. It's going to be absolutely brilliant. So can't wait for that. That'll be next Tuesday night, round number 7 on the championship. With that, we want to say one more time a huge thank you to Full Send Sims and Court Schmidt and everybody involved for the envisioning of this championship and building such an incredible product as well. And then, of course, our great supporting sponsors, Rob Greenwood and Final Turn Motorsports. The work they do is superb. Frank Rodriguez and 3P Logistics for all of their wonderful support, and Wine Country Motorsports for coming on board as well. With that, we're going to wrap things up here from the Bull Ring at the Road Racing Center of the East. When we see you next Tuesday, it will be from America's National Park of Speed. We'll see you then. For Finney and DeCuna and for Kyle Heyer, I'm Greg Creamer. Take care, everybody.